just ask guidance and God to guide us and give us the words to share today, so that the message of love is shared with everybody who tunes in. Thanks. Hey, you guys, welcome. I'm here this afternoon with my buddy, one of my best buddies, Morris Lukowich. Lukey and I go back. We've shared shit together.
We've shared Starbucks when I didn't even know what Starbucks was.
Yeah, the early days of Starbucks. Where, in San Francisco?
No, I was on the way to Vancouver to a Rhino. Actually out to One Horse Mountain in Washington.
Washington, my red Explorer or Escalade, whatever I had there.
And I didn't even know what a Starbucks was. and then I found out we had to stop at every one between here and friggin' Washington State.
That'd be 2000?
That was. I can still remember saying, well, there's a coffee spot there. Oh, but it wasn't Starbucks.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've moved beyond Starbucks now. Oh yes. Yeah. They're kind of a last resort. Sorry, guys.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of a last resort. I'm such a, you know me, I'm a Beano fan, right?
Oh my.
Yeah. Cafe Beano and I can't, I've got a kind of a Beano-ish coffee shop in almost every city that I visit.
Really?
And I kind of know where to go and find the cool coffee. I've actually been listening to Ave SE, and Dave is the bulletproof coffee guy, and he's all about mind hacks, how to like his book that I've just finished reading about the mind. I'll send you a copy of it. It's just amazing on how to, because many of us at our age, we experience brain fog. Or we have, and what's happening in our mind, in our frontal cortex, between, what are these called?
Temples.
That's right. Who resides in the temple?
I'd come up with that one.
But I knew you'd go for it.
It is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, all these years they've been calling the temples, and we missed it. It's like, of course. But anyway, Dave Asprey is really. Got all the hacks, he calls it, everything they always call it, like a hack, a brain hack, a health hack, and all the hacks for waking up what's gone to sleep in this part of our brain.
Cool.
And the mitochondria, he wakes up the mitochondria, which gets things going again. And I've been really into his stuff lately. So you'd love it. And he also says that a lot of coffee that we're drinking has mold in it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so we have to be able to find places where, we're, of course, his coffee doesn't. But it does. Anyway, I don't know how we got off into the coffee.
Well, then I would like that, because when I start my day off with 2 cups of coffee, and the first one is because it just seems to help me have a really good crap.
It's shit moving, no pun intended.
Big, it does. And then the next one is to kind of help me really kind of wake up and be ready to roll.
Yeah, I've crashed in the same room with Luke lots. He's very regular.
And I still sleep with no clothes on.
Oh gosh, I'll never forget that. We're not telling that story. We are not telling that story.
And we are not gay.
No.
Or at least I'm not.
Clearly. If you are, then I'm telling Evie. He's got a beautiful wife, Evie, and a beautiful daughter, Zoe, who I remember when Zoe was born. Yeah. How's she, 14?
2004. Yeah, she's 14.
Jeepers.
Yeah. And
still loves her dad.
Well, you know what? She does, although, when the 7-year transitions.
Like 14 to 21, yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's the letting go of the child.
Yep.
And going into, and now into the teens. And there's a fear, I can see it. And there's I think she would love to keep the beautiful relationship with her dad that she has, that she can come up and give me a hug anytime or whatever. And now as she's moving into being a teenager, I mean, I think she's feeling, especially she's now becoming an incredibly beautiful young woman. And so now there's a bit of a hesitation or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Emily and I went through it.
yeah.
You know, as you know, I was talking to Em today.
Yeah.
And we went through it. We went through her teens. She didn't have anything to do with me. And that was, I understood that. You know, and she went through a lot of her growing things with, you know, with her experiences with life, and it was my job to just always be there. You know, and I mean, I'm her biggest fan, just like you are Zoe's biggest fan. And you know, Emily's 38 now, and I told her today. I said, you know, I'm your biggest fan, and she said, Dad, no matter what happens in my life, I know you're in my corner. And those are beautiful things to be able to share. And so, patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Patience is absolutely a virtue here, and you know what? It goes past patience, though. Patience is.
Of course, yeah.
It's almost like there's that saying about to tolerate someone is just to basically toleration is nothing but a premeditated resentment.
Yes.
Or something along those lines. It might be expectation is coming.
Well, compromise, we used to say, is a premeditated resentment.
And so the thing is, I've seen with Zoe too, it isn't about patience. It is really about connecting in these moments when insanity is running wild, is for me to connect with my higher power, and then to love her as much as I can. Same with Eva. Like I've coined a new saying with Evie is, and it's that let our irritations become our inspirations. Yeah, and she is like, and so every day,
very inspiring.
Every day I'm inspired, like many times right off the bat.
He loves you so much.
Our irritations, our aggravations become our inspirations. And you know what? It really, when a person can shift, then it's very cool what can come in, what can happen in those moments. Yeah. So I love the idea of connection.
Yeah. With me and Emily, when she was in her teens, I had to, I remember being sad. I felt some sadness because, you know, the little girl didn't need me anymore for a while. You know, there was and of course when I was in that, I didn't know that the end was coming, that it would be, it would transform again, because I was, you know, I just didn't know, and so there was times when I felt kind of needy, you know, for her love and attention, and I had to watch that and be with that and let that go, and you know, and recognize that she was going to find her women, you know, and her girlfriends, and explore with other men in her life, and so it's been having a healthy relationship with my daughter has been a growing, you know, process, and I think you're in that right now. It's an exciting place to be. Just love her unconditionally. Yeah,
and you know, and I can relate to the sadness, because at times, like, wow, she's 14, and now I reflect back, and I mean, there's a piece of me, I call it my dark side, that just wants to punish me for past mistakes. And I can look back now, and I can see that, wow, I wish I had, and the thing was, we had lots of quality time.
Of course you did. Yep.
And yet, there could have been more quality time. And so, I want to beat myself over the head.
I don't know how. That. As a dad, you've been, you know, fucking outstanding. Really. You know, you showed up big. I remember when Evie was pregnant, and we were in Harbin, and you know, you made a decision, and you followed through, big time. You've been a great dad. You followed through.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know, I mean, few men were as close as I was at that time, and hell, I rode back on the plane with Evie from San Francisco that time.
Wow.
Remember? You and you stayed.
I stayed. I wish you had stayed. You know what? We actually just chatted about this last night.
Did you?
Yeah. And I
we were at Harbin Hot Springs together.
Yeah, I ended up at
in a group.
in a Paul Lowe group, which
Yep.
was amazing.
Yeah, we were getting consciousness. Yeah.
Paul Lowe he could actually transmit energy,
Yeah.
send energy, send love.
And so can you.
Can I?
Of course you can.
Wow.
Of course you can. Yeah.
I'd like to start doing that.
Well, can I give you a little tip? I have a
Sure.
a 3x5 card with names on it of people that I regularly look at them and send them love and gratitude.
Wow.
And I mean, everything is nothing, right? It's all energy. And of course you transmit.
Yeah, this is a big matrix.
Yeah, you
I'm starting to see it more.
yeah, you send it. Let's both of us send energy, love to Cat.
You mean to my cats?
No,
Because we have 2 cats at home.
this cat.
Did you feel it?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, because when Paul sent energy, like it literally, we'd be 25 feet away from each other, and then he would, when he was finished the talk, he would literally, he'd look, focus in, and then, like I got hit by, it started right about here, and it was like a 7-Up or a ginger ale going off inside of me. It was like effervescence. Went up and through it, and then I'd go, wow. And then we'd reconnect, and he'd smile, and then he would go, and he'd start with the next person. That was amazing.
Yeah. Our friend was vibrating in, when I talk about Hawkins and the level of, unconditional love at 540, and I would say Paul was vibrating in the high 600s.
Wow.
He was, and so we would be with him, and you were there too, and a day into group, and it would be like we'd been in group for a month. Time would have no meaning. It would be, we would be with this fella, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is only day 3, and we'd get to such a level, and he had that ability to really facilitate such a high level of love.
Well, and what was really fun was it was clothes optional. That was incredible.
Yeah, I remember the first time I took Lukey and a bunch of the men to Harbin. Remember we went up there in the motorhome?
Yes.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of fellas after a men's weekend in San Francisco, and we went up to Harbin Hot Springs together. There's like 6 fellas, and they didn't know where they were going.
Huge motorhome, right down the street of, right downtown San Fran. Somehow railroad tracks or trolley tracks all over the place. And we were going this way, and we actually had to be going this way. And Davey put that great big RV to the right, cranked her around right in the middle of the street, and we were going the other way. I mean, it was right there. I think their Senate building was on the right, and it was like, this big bus turned around and went the other direction. That was cool.
We were living under the protection. We were on a mission from God. We were like the Blues Brothers.
And we've done many
missions, haven't we?
Yeah. And actually, this I believe is another one of the adventures.
Yeah.
David is quite often simply invited me on an adventure, and I get a phone call, and he says, "Guess what?" And I'm saying, "Wow, it's time for another adventure." And we go.
Off we go.
And the thing is, we've had some other amigos with us too.
Yeah.
But some of them have moved on, and which is sad. And the thing is, I still see them every once in a while. Like I feel Roderman in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I feel Daryl. Actually, Daryl shows up as a crow.
Yeah. The Syrian crow.
Yeah. Actually, Wayne has seen him too. Yeah, he shows up as a crow, and yeah, I mean, good men.
Yeah, we have been blessed really, in the 20 years that we've been buddies, it's been around our men's group in the beginning, and then, it's been around a lot of consciousness work and Paul Lowe work and DeMartini and
Justin Sterling.
Yeah, we've had some great teachers.
Howard Lagarde.
Yeah, we've had some amazing teachers.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that you are a great teacher, and that you bring your love and your energy to a lot of young people in the hockey world.
Mm-hmm. I do.
You do, and you used to play a little hockey.
I did.
And
do you want me to chat about that?
And well, I just want to say that you've taken all that experience and you're still you're giving it away on a regular basis to help kids to excel and be all they can be on the ice. And I'm sure you're doing it with it's not just a technical thing. You're giving them your energy and your love, and you're putting it into all of that, their greatness.
Well, and also a piece of it
help them be present.
Yeah, I mean, because one thing I did really well was I was good at scoring goals. Mm-hmm. So something that I was able to see and analyze, and I figured out basically a path of least resistance, and so I used it in hockey to score about 300 plus goals in the WHA NHL, which was very good for a young boy who grew up in Nowhere, Saskatchewan. We didn't even have an indoor hockey rink.
What was the town called? Nowhere?
Spears. Yeah, 150 people.
Yeah.
Like, how does a boy from the middle of nowhere, we don't, not even an indoor hockey rink, and manage to get to the NHL? Mm-hmm. So there's God-given talent, then there's desire, then I think there's a dream that can happen.
I thought you thought there was more girls there.
It is one way to definitely get some extra
attention.
It is. It does make things a little easier that way. And and then
that's where you found Evie.
Yeah.
Around the rink.
Well, actually, she was sitting in the stands.
Was she? Yeah.
Watching. It was my brother Ed that actually lined us up.
Really?
Yeah, I was just with him this morning having a coffee. He's former world curling champion.
Yeah.
So
Eddie Lukowich.
Yeah, he was my mentor and one of the main reasons I got to the NHL. And because he was in Medicine Hat when I was playing junior there, and he simply saw things that I didn't see by being in the minutia out there on the ice. Him up top, he could see some new things, new pathways, different strategies, different skills. Mm-hmm. And he was an amazing coach. Mm-hmm. The amazing thing, of all the hockey coaches I ever had, he was the best. And he was a curler.
Your brother Eddie, yeah. Well, but remember, he was the best because he loved you. And it wasn't that he was an expert in the game. He knew you. It was a really a miracle combination that he was able to be there for you, but it was
really was.
Yeah, it would be his love that helped steer. Probably loved you more than you
cry right now.
Probably loved you more than you loved yourself.
Well, I would say it's been a long time of not loving myself, and I've been working through that.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story. Mm-hmm. And then one of my stories that I found out about, and then I reflected on, was that it was actually I was maybe about 7 or 8 years old when we were around the kitchen table, and then what came out was this story that when I was born, my dad came down to the car, and I had 3 older brothers, Mike, Ed, and Len, and he opened up the door and he says, Mom's just had another baby, and you have a baby brother. And she's crying hysterically. And I remember hearing this at the table that day, and what was this about? And then so the conversation, like everybody kind of laughed at that moment. And I was thinking, well, what's so funny about this? And then what happened was it got talked about, that Mom was actually crying. She was sobbing because she had wanted a girl.
Oh.
And so in the moment, it's interesting, in the moment, like, so I remember at the table that day, we got talking about this, and I ended up crying. I can even remember saying, hey, it wasn't my fault that I was a boy.
No. Yeah.
So it was amazing. At this young age, I took on what I believe is the Hoffman process, we'll call it a negative love pattern. Like, I took on this belief that, and I've watched it now, how it's kind of interesting. When I was born, my mom actually didn't immediately love me. She actually rejected me. The woman that actually loved me was the nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she looked and saw this incredible, beautiful thing. So anyways, before my mom passed away, I actually went and had a chat with her in 2004. And I asked if this was truly what had happened. And she said, yes. She said, I was so wanting a girl that, yes, I really cried. And she said, it was just for a little while, though, and I love you. And I said, well, how the fuck was a newborn baby supposed to know that you love me? So I've been angry with her for a long time over this, but also what happened was, I would say I took on this belief that I craved the acceptance of a woman. And so it's been and through your help and other people's help, I would say that I'm finally getting to a spot where I'm truly loving myself. And through that, it's so cool that, like, when I look at a cup of water now, that, is at the halfway point. Is it half full or half empty? And what I see now, wow, it's a cup, and it's my cup, and it can be filled with love to overflowing,
Mm-hmm.
to where then it overflows into the saucer underneath it, and into that love can flow.
Mm-hmm.
So my responsibility, I believe is to love myself to overflowing, and then to let that love be an extension of God's love.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did that in Mexico with Evie and Zoe and a Mexican waiter. And when I came upon this idea, I said, hey, how about if we look at this? So we had one saucer, two saucers, and this cup half full, the jug, and the Mexican waiter gave me the jug, and I took it and I just started pouring, and it filled completely, and then it flowed into the saucer, and then it flowed into the next saucer. The one saucer was Zoe, the other was Evie.
Yes.
And it just kept flowing. And they were getting all...
I'm sure they were.
They were like, we were the only
Dad,
ones.
what are you doing?
And this Mexican waiter,
Yeah.
and he stood there. And in the end, when like everything was full, and someone spilled over on the table, and Evie was screaming, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Having it flow out. Anyways, I took the jug and I gave it back to the Mexican. And you know what he did? He smiled, and he nodded.
Yeah.
And he got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if the girls got it.
Mm.
But it was very cool. And he was the only one in the restaurant at that time. So that's what I see now. And so, you know what? Like, I'm at the tender age of 62.
Yes.
I would say that for the first time, like, I'm truly beginning to love myself.
Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing the possibilities of that. And so I'm excited. I've been really resistant for, I mean, we're only here now.
Yeah.
Like, I've resisted that whole idea of actually loving myself for so long, since we've met. And so now it's really time to giddy up, and let's see what we can do.
And the truth is, in my opinion, that if we're here now, there isn't even any need to love ourselves or anything, because in this moment, it all exists. There's just the now, and love exists here. Nothing else exists here. This is, this moment is love. And the idea of loving ourselves is really the idea of loving the persona of Morris Lukowich, the idea of David McElwain.
Yes, I agree with.
So
the one thing, though,
yes.
isn't this the thing, though, is God has given us free will to choose?
Well, yes, and if we choose to be here now,
We can't.
yes,
It's here.
and then in this moment, all of my ideas, and it doesn't mean that works in how I create my life, and but if I meditate, if I sit. And like happened last night, we had a meditation here last night, and we had a fellow who did a guided meditation. I had an amazing experience in his guided meditation, and where I really touched the one, the emptiness. It's just like, oh, yes. And it was, then there was nothing missing.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And
that'd be a pretty cool moment.
yes, and
Everything present.
nothing missing. It was just,
missing.
so what happens, I think, because we're here and in this plane, and we're messing around in this illusion.
Yes.
We're trying to organize it to suit us. We're trying to
Sure.
be happy here. And I think the possibility is to find the oneness, God as we understand Him. We use that concept because our mind needs something to hook onto, to think of as we think of God. There, in a way, there is only this moment, and so God is in that moment, and only in that moment. He's in all moments, but still, we can only connect with Him or it or her, or in when we're in that space.
Well, what I've reflected on the now, which Paul Lowe talks so much about. I remember Paul just here, right now, the way he put his hands on top. I've reflected on that so much because it's in hockey. There's moments when we get into the zone.
Oh yeah.
When there's very little thinking. Actually, thinking is dangerous to a hockey player.
Yeah, because then you're not present.
Right.
Yes.
It's a beingness. When Gretzky played his very best hockey, when he wasn't whining about the refereeing or whining about anything else or arguing with somebody, when he got present, it was incredible.
Yeah, he's ahead of the game.
Yeah, and I think it's whether he tapped into the left side of his brain or the right side of his brain, the imaginative side. And so it was, he just was so, and it's interesting, when he gets into the zone, like I've watched him shoot pucks that, heck, if our goaltender would have just stood there, it would have hit him. Instead, the goalie goes and lets it by him. He actually gets out of the way. So the presence actually would
Make the path.
Yeah, it would create the path, and the barrier would get out of the way. I mean, it was like, I'd say to the goalie, why didn't you just stand there and let it hit you?
Did you ever play with him?
I played with him in 4 All-Star games, and yet never a shift with him. And yet we've had some incredible interactions with each other. Like one time I hit him with a vicious elbow that put him out for a little while.
A Gordie Howe elbow.
Yeah, I paid a brutal price for it, though. Davey Semenko
Came after you.
He evened it up pretty.
He was the enforcer.
Yeah,
Semenko.
It was ugly.
Yeah.
Davey lined up. It was kind of interesting. I was right there at the face-off dot, and there was a guy by the name of another player there, ready to face off, and then all of a sudden, Glenn Saylor said, "Sammy, now get him," and it was right in front of the bench. Dave Semenko climbed over the boards. This other guy, they opened the gate and he went off the ice, and Semenko came and stood right beside me. And so as soon as they went to drop the puck, I went to bring my stick up and I went like this, and he basically two-handed baseball swing right here. So I was down. They give him a 5-minute major. I'm back in the box trying to adjust my brain because I am like big time concussed.
Yeah.
During the 5-minute major, Edmonton scores only 2 shorthanded goals. Gretzky gets 1, Curry gets 1. And at the end I thought, wow, that was a waste of time.
So they made their point. Leave Gretzky alone.
Well, actually, he came by the bench after he got himself collected. And he was out for a little bit. He skated by, and as he came by our bench, he said, "You're gonna die." He wasn't 100% right, because I lived through it, but just barely. Had I not turned my head, it would have been, I think, all over.
Wow.
And you know what is interesting is that I meet Dave Semenko. I've got an amazing picture that I'd love to bring in here sometime with him at the Heritage Classic, which happened 2 years ago in Winnipeg. Now, Davey's into the next life. He passed away suddenly. And yet, I got to meet him afterwards. We played some old-timers games together, and he was funny.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. He had a sense of humor that was amazing. And I learned to love the man. And I meant to ask him about that.
No, he probably doesn't remember.
He probably doesn't remember.
Right.
He's been through so many of them.
He had a lot of guys like that.
But I certainly, I remember it.
I'm sure you do. You're just one of your concussions. How many concussions do you think you got in the NHL?
I had too many.
Too many, yeah.
Yeah, there were times where, like, I would come back to the bench, and when we were teammates, like, I would not know your name. And I'd have to get reintroduced to everybody. And then yet, I would go back out and play in that game. Yeah, there was one time, actually.
That was short-term thinking.
Oh, there was one time I went to hit a guy in Montreal, Spavoda, and he sidestepped me, and I went like bang, head first into the boards. And I didn't think it was that bad. And then when I came off the boards, I went to skate, and it felt like I had no edges. It was wobbly, and then what happened was amazing. There was like a little black circle that started here, and it just kind of grew. And what was happening was the inside was disappearing, and I could only see on the outside. And then what happened was then it got to a spot where then the inside started to reappear, and then the outside started to disappear. Yeah. I remember I went back to the bench, and the trainer knew I was really hurt. And it was a strange one, because I hammered the front of my head into the glass.
Jeez.
So,
Oh.
yeah. And yet then I went back out and played.
Tough prairie boy, right? We did, get in there, suck it up. Yeah, those were the days, huh? Those were the days, my friend.
Men were men and sheep were scared.
We're not going to go there.
Is this a family?
Yeah, it's absolutely a family show. Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh well, whatever.
It was.
It was a family show. It's changed though. It's evolved.
So no, zero F-bombs?
Oh, it was too late.
I was going to say.
It's too late. Yeah, it's too late. I just want to say that 20 years of being with you and watching you in your journey. I fancy myself a spiritual student, and I've watched you also all these years tirelessly continue the work, and to study with so many great teachers, like the Hoffman process and DeMartini. We back and do that breakthrough process a number of times, and all the work that we've done, and so I think that you've lifted, your vibration is lifted, and your consciousness level about what's happening inside of you, and that's the kind of thing that that we as men now elders or damn near elders in our community have the opportunity to share that message. With the young men in their 20s and 30s. And that's why I'm still really active on men's team, and why I do my 12-step work. And because I think he who, has been chosen, who's been given lots is expected, And so we have to give it away. And I think you are giving it away. You're coaching kids. You're coaching kids to score goals, but you're also coaching kids to live, lives of presence, right? Do you teach them to meditate?
Yeah, to meditate, I teach them more around breathing. Because in hockey, and I just would like to take a step back for a moment. I mean, there's been so much. The Hoffman process, PSI, personal self-improvement, here in Calgary. There's our rhinos, our legacy discoveries. Sterling Men's Weekend, Alpha Leader Training. Wow, there's been, you know, a friend of mine asked me the other day, you have done so much work. And he's the man that actually got me to go to the Hoffman process. He says, like, why do you keep doing these seminars? And I think, so I've thought about it, and I said, well, I think because I haven't reached the top yet.
You know, we're not done yet. Yeah.
I think I keep looking for what's the next piece.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, there's the yin and the yang, and yet there's right there.
So lifelong learning is one of the pillars of my presentation.
Oh, and yeah, by the way, I've done Al-Anon. I did the 12, I've done AA. Like, we admitted that we're powerless. It's an amazing amount of power in that.
Yes, yeah.
To admit that. I mean, I want to say thanks for that, because you were one of the men that actually got me to Al-Anon, because Evie's and my best friend Kim died from alcohol poisoning. And I remember the one man said, go there in order to understand what your wife is going through, because they were best friends. And it was there where one man, after about 2 years, said, I said, you know what, I think I'm actually finished now. And he said, well, I'm finished with Al-Anon. He said, well, good, because there's a room down the hall that would be good for you to go to. I said, what are you talking about? He says, the AA meeting is just down there. And I said, but I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I don't need a drink.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what, just from whether you talk, it would be good for you. So I went down there for a couple of years and then realized that, wow, alcoholics come in all sorts of different varieties.
Yes.
I thought they were always the ones in the ditch, you know, with a beard like this. And I mean, I realized that, wow, I am an alcoholic who will drink to sabotage my life every once in a while.
Yeah.
And so for me to become aware of that, and I might be even bullshitting right now, I'm unsure. Okay, I do know that there was that. And anyways, AA meetings, I mean, they are very interesting. And you know what, actually, when I went and saw my friend John in Boca Raton, and he had become sober, we had played together in Boston, so he wanted to take me to an AA meeting.
Yep.
So it ended up, he took me to this one where they had a clubhouse, and it was really cool.
Lano Club.
In Boca Raton.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No, but I know what it would be called, yeah.
And then what happened was the next day, and the day after, we went and we had an AA meeting at the beach.
Yeah.
Like Boca Raton Beach with the ocean right there. And you know what? I must admit that in AA meetings in the lodge, God is there. At the beach, he is really there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Those meetings.
Yeah.
And hey, so we come back to
It's just a quick aside.
Yeah.
Hawkins,
Yeah.
Dr. David Hawkins, talks about unconditional love. His scale vibrates at 540, and he says that the AA organization that basically vibrates at 540, which is unconditional love.
Wow.
And so when you go to a meeting and you feel that energy, that's unconditional love. That's what's there. The people in that meeting don't need anything. They accept you or whoever's coming in the door just the way they are. And that person's coming back for the 25th time. That's okay, whatever it takes. So that unconditional love is very attractive. It's a very high vibration. You know, we're talking about vibration.
Yeah.
And I mean, not all groups are vibrating at that unconditional love, but I go to one on Wednesday night that I believe vibrates at unconditional love. It's pretty exciting.
You know what a man just said to me this morning? Cal. Down in
Osborne,
Boise.
yeah.
No.
Osborne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, AA, there's something there, it does for us what we are incapable of doing for ourselves.
Yeah.
Which was, I thought, pretty profound.
Well, yeah.
And
Cal, love Cal. He's been sober for a couple of years now.
4
years.
He just celebrated 4.
Wow.
No, I hope we didn't break confidentiality there.
Cal, sorry, we've broken confidentiality. I'll tag him too.
You know what was, just to go on a bit of a side here
Yeah.
also, I mean, I wanted to talk about the hockey piece, but yet, this morning, because I'm on a call with Cal, right now we're doing a call every Friday morning at 7 a.m. for about 45 minutes. And somehow we got talking about, I remembered him. I remembered him one time when he had a white shirt on, and before I ever met him, and how I noticed him. Like, he actually came out of a door, he walked, it was in a building in Oakland, California, and he walked, and then some men talked with him, and then they went off, and then he walked, and then he stopped, and he kind of looked at me, and I remember thinking, wow, there's something about that man.
He's on purpose.
Yeah. And then there was the rhino we went to, One Horse Mountain in Washington, where and I mentioned it to him today, was because what we had was basically a game of rugby. It was a football that we could hold on to. It was squishy. And what happened was they were skins and we were shirts. And the rules were said right from the start. And it was like a one-touch football. It was supposed to be one touch. And so and they said go, and I was like, I mean, I love these games.
I know, yeah.
And so I whipped in there and got that ball.
You were always full contact.
No, I got the ball, and I'm headed towards the goal line. I'm headed there, and I can see him kind of coming from the side to tag me, and I'm running. And then he gets close, and my NHL spider sense kicked in at the last second, realizing he is going to tackle me. And sure enough, full tilt tackle. We roll around in the dirt. I hang onto the ball, and so then, but he's kind of giving it to me while I'm down, and I managed to pass the ball off to somebody else. And I remember I got into that pile, and so immediately after the rules had just been given, he broke them.
Of course.
Yes, within a second.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and then when I got up, I made a vow that anytime he touched the ball, he would pay a price, that I would punish him. So that any time he got it, I went over and I just tackled him. And when he was down on the ground, I would pound his head into the dirt, or I would stomp on him with my shoes.
So that's how he knows you love him.
And then afterwards, he became the goalie, and he was on the goal line. And I can't even remember, how am I going to get him now? Because he won't come forward.
You know, the thing I remember about that event is that you and I crawled into a tent one night, and we were on an air mattress, and it was cold.
It was really cold.
It was cold, and
it was warm. It was warm on the air mattress
until all the air came out of the air mattress,
which we didn't know about.
And we were laying on the floor, and then we had to get up and go into the back of the truck. Do you remember? We moved into the back of the truck.
There.
It was cold. It was a cold freaking night. And then the next morning, we were all in that. So I mean, you could see the Glacier Mountains right there. Snow. It's we're in Washington State, and there's this Glacier Mountain, and they take us all down to this river.
Yeah, we went from freezing to the freezing river.
Oh, down to the river, and everybody stripped off, and I'm like, I've been around the men for like less than a year. That'd be my first rhino, and all these guys are buck-ass naked in this glacier-fed friggin'. I mean, you can see the snow right there. And
that was cold.
And we all had to do full duck. But cold showers are good, right? And are you still doing cold showers?
You know what? I haven't had a shower for about a week, so.
Jeepers. That's too much information.
I've been a busy guy. So, no, it's mostly warm showers. Actually, you know what I do is, because I play a lot of squash, tennis, badminton, I still work out lots. What I've really found to rejuvenate, what happens is I go and have a hot shower, jump into the steam, really roast the body in the steam, and come out and then just turn her on as cold as I can. And then when it happens, I do each leg for about a minute, minute and a half, and then my squash arm, and then the rest of the body, and it is like, I think it's one of the keys to good health.
Well, it is. In that book I was telling you about, Hawkins, or not Hawkins, but
Osprey?
Osprey, from Bulletproof Guy. He talks about cold showers, man. He's big on cold water, cold showers. He's really good. So we got to quit this.
Okay.
We got to get to the end of this. This has been awesome. Thank you. And quick question: do you meditate?
Yes.
Every day?
Every day at 6:30.
So it's,
and then at nighttime too.
Wow. So I guess that part of why we're doing this, part of my mission is to help other folks, to have people see the benefits of meditation, and that people are doing it, and so, I didn't prep you, I didn't say, but I just imagined that you were a regular meditator.
Can I show you my setup?
Sure.
For 5 minutes? It's from here. I greet my higher power. I come down here. Then I reach up to my higher power. Boom, boom, boom. Back down to the body, to the intellect, to the emotional self, to spirit. Back to the body, then the flip side. Emotional self, intellect, spirit. My diamond essence.
And then you sit after that?
Yes.
For 10 minutes? Or?
No, it typically goes from about 6:30 to about 5 to 7. And then it's time to get up and start to get ready to get Zoe to school.
Wow. Well, good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have a meditation?
Took a while.
You need a stool.
I have a pillow.
Yeah, we're going to get you into a stool. The neat thing about my stools is that they're made from recycled teak. First of all, the right height, aren't they?
Yeah, they are nice. Actually, I was a little tight from the start, but I've noticed how my legs have started to relax.
Open up, yeah.
Since I've just been sitting here.
They're the right height, and when you pass away, Zoe's going to get this. I mean, this is going to last for 150 years. Like, it's teak, it's recycled. The pillow's got a short-term life. They wear out, or they squish down, or they, having a meditation stool made from recycled teak, damn thing's going to last forever.
Okay.
It's a one-time purchase.
Okay.
And that's one of the blessings of them. And this year my goal is to put these in 10,000 homes. I want to help 10,000 people create a meditation space this year. Next year, double plus, and I've got some big numbers in the future on this. I just see it as why couldn't every home have a meditation space?
Well, would you like to come and see the meditation space I have?
Sure. I'll bring a stool.
Let's do that another time.
Yeah. I'll come have a sit with you.
All right.
Is it under the stairs?
It is.
Yeah. I've been in your space. Under the stairs. But
Also, I'd love to come back and chat again.
Yeah. Thank you.
If it works.
Yeah, of course it will. I'd love that too. And we could maybe talk about a little bit more about your days in Winnipeg, and because it's I think people would like to hear about those things. And
what I'd mostly like to talk about? Oh,
yes.
I'd love to talk about, because I got to play with Gordie Howe, with Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like the now moments, I call them. There's now moments, there's aha moments when we realize something, and there's now moments when we were just simply present. And there's times I've been with Gordie Howe and Bobby Hull and Bobby Orr where it's just been present. Actually, and Wayne Gretzky. It's incredible. He has the best handshake I have ever with any man. He has the perfect handshake. I mean it.
Yeah.
It's I only shook hands with him once.
Yeah.
In Vancouver at a coaching seminar, and he has the perfect handshake.
Will you send me that picture
Of Semenko?
No, the goal picture. You had a picture of
The
you
last goal of my NHL?
where you did that thing that we used to get you to do. We'll do that another time. But I'd love that picture, because we're going to put this on YouTube. We put and I'll probably put the picture in the comments somewhere. And if you got a copy of that picture?
I do. It's actually the last goal I ever scored in the NHL.
Yeah.
And for people, when they look at it, it was overtime winner. It was the last game and then we went out for a New Year's party in 1986. A dad actually grabs his daughter and threw her up in the air.